And the next of our favorites is one of my all-time favorite companies, and that is Nike, the sports equipment manufacturer. Everybody knows, of course, the swoosh brand, one of the most valuable in the world, founded by Phil Knight back in 1964 in Oregon in the United States of America. You remember the fabulous stories about experimenting with a waffle iron making sports shoes for the University of Oregon runners. It's grown into the world's largest sports apparel company, involved with all sorts of things from replica kit all the way through to fancy knitted fly knit running shoes. Those are marvelous. $94.82 billion worth of market cap. Price earnings ratio 27.45, dividend yield 1.13. So Chris, this is sort of in that mold of global branded companies. People love America, even though sometimes they don't have positive things to say about Americans or America. And the brand is really externalizing big sales in Brazil and China, going off a low base and really firing up.
Yeah. And it's not just in the athletic arena, of course, Paul. Tiger Woods, some years ago, really took it to new heights in the golfing arena. Yeah. And if you look at people like Rory McIlroy these days, also being sponsored there. So they've got huge reach into a wide variety of sports.
Football is probably their lead brand global strategy, sponsoring the big national sides like Brazil, and then the club sides like Barcelona.
And they're into rugby as well. I mean, okay, the Springboks had a dalliance with them. I think they're with another crowd now. But wherever you look, that swoosh, just do it. It's there all the time.
I think the sports shoes still contribute about half or more of their profits. So apparel's still got lots of space to grow, particularly in China, where the government of China is very keen people should be exercising and working out more. But sports shoes, I mean, the margins of those are good. And of course, because people have an obesity challenge in the way the world is right now, more and more people are at least taking up running. Whether they are going to continue doesn't really matter, but everybody needs a nice pair of sports shoes to go jogging around the block.
Absolutely. And things like Parkrun, for example, which was introduced back into South Africa about 4 or 5 years ago, that I think has been instrumental in getting more people coming into it and doing running. In the terms of the manufacture of these shoes, it's fascinating that a lot of shoe manufacturing has now gone out of China into Mexico. They're making this effectively on a loom. And going into the US.
So in other words, the old cut and trim with bits of like leatherette and so on is gone. It's a much more efficient process because they knit the whole upper using special looms, as you say, which makes them weave a lot tougher where it needs to be and more spacious where it doesn't, different colors, all that kind of stuff. No waste. Huge margin improvement.
And really right at the forefront of technology. It's fantastic to look
at. They really have had the charge on all of their competitors. But I did notice recently that Adidas is making a bit of a comeback. Under Armour is a brand that's kind of gaining. So it's not like they have the field entirely to themselves. But do you think they've reached a sort of level of global prominence where they can defend their own turf and their own margins?
Oh, I think they can, and I think the brand is just so well known, incredibly well known, and the aspirational nature of that brand is just so incredible. You mentioned Under Armour. Yeah, that's good, and I've got a few pieces of that. It's wonderful. It's very well made, and it's gaining a lot of traction, even in the golf arena, for example. But Nike is just so far ahead of the pack, I think, that it's going to remain dominant for a while.
And you can see that, to mention Brazil again, I mean, all over the show. And athleisure, so in other words, not just people wearing those kind of clothes in order to exercise, but also wearing it in a sort of casual context as well.
Yes.
So got to be hot on that one. And the share price at the end there revealed a little bit of a tap off at the end. So a lot of global stocks, in my opinion anyway, offering a good opportunity. So Nike has dipped below 60. Remember, that's after quite a few stock splits. That's the current price of the main listing in New York. Okay, good. Let's move on. We're hot on that one.